So we're continuing the new retcons for the ninja arc in this chapter, of course, but it's getting more interesting. And I know that's hard to believe, but hear me out. Maybe it's a little subtle, but let me explain. So coming off of the previous chapter where we saw Flashy Flash, Blast, and Sitch along with Genos in SAITAMA's apartment, and they were all discussing like the backstory of Flashy Flash and Sonic in the Ninja Village, how they came to know each other, and what led them to their current places in time. And coming into this chapter, we're essentially seeing like the end of that conversation with Flashy Flash about to leave, and he says to Blast, like, give my regards to that man, quote unquote, whoever he was when he was a human, referring to Empty Void, of course. And Blast realizes like, oh, Flashy Flash figured it out, that Empty Void's tied to God, even though you pretty much already told him in chapter 195, which was 2 chapters ago, when he explained that the Ninja Village was essentially just a big scheme to create new candidates to become God's disciples. So Flashy Flash now realizes like, oh, Empty Void himself is a product of God's manipulation. So as Flashy Flash is like leaving the Hero Association, one of the workers there, I don't even know what you call this woman, but it's like a worker at the Hero Association, gives Flash this message from Sonic. And of course the message is telling Flashy Flash what the Tanito, or the Heavenly Ninja Party, told to Sonic. It's like, hey, lure Flashy Flash out to this abandoned warehouse where you live, because tomorrow we're gonna come back here with Empty Void and we're gonna kill him, and then we're gonna kill Blast. So Sonic is kind of holding up his end of the bargain here, even though since we've been through this 2 times already, we already know that Sonic isn't trying to kill Flashy Flash. He's actually trying to reconnect with him in his own reserved way. But then we come to Blast and Sitch talking in the elevator here, and they're talking about Empty Void, how he was manipulated by God, and that he didn't want to outright tell everything to Flashy Flash about him being manipulated by God in case he actually does become a human again. Because let us not forget, this is like Blast's big story with Empty Void. They were former teammates. He has a history with them, and he wants to revert Empty Void back to being a human again, which has always been the goal. But we're getting some new lore about Empty Void here in this conversation, which we didn't get before. And Blast says, referring to Empty Void, after all, he grew up in an organization similar to the village, where after graduation, the students scattered, killing each other in a struggle for power and control. And Void was the only survivor of that organization, a fate that ninjas are notorious for. So now, apparently, there was a predecessor to the Ninja Village. I'm pretty sure Empty Void was like the initial creator of Ninja Village. Before that, there was kind of just like a clan of ninjas. It was like Empty Void with his sister and his friend, and then whatever else that story was going to go into before it got canned. But now we're seeing that Empty Void himself is just like Sonic and Flashy Flash. And then I guess this is where it's revealed that Blast and Empty Void were former teammates, because Sitch says, hadn't he been as great as he is, you know, having survived that organization, being the only survivor, he couldn't have supported you in the battle or been a key part of the operation. Now, it's not revealed yet, but it's going to be revealed, of course, that the operation was hunting down the God cubes and trying to like stifle whatever God was ultimately trying to do, or what they thought he was trying to do. And this is where they reiterate that they're going to take the opportunity to free him from God's hands, you know, trying to revert him back to being a human, and that as long as he's hidden, he can't be found because of the special barrier he deploys around the village. So this is something that came up before in the very original draft of this arc, this whole barrier deal. And we don't know really how that works, because Empty Void has like a different set of powers in each of these continuities that keep coming up. Sometimes he has like genjutsu powers. In the second one, he was like rivaling Cosmic Fear Garo in power. So maybe this time around, he'll be somewhere in between, but he still seems to have this special barrier ability to where he can like cloak the Ninja Village. Still remains to be seen if he's an Esper, or if he can still do that special ability to unlock the Celestial Rock Cave where God is allegedly hiding. I don't know if they're just completely scrapping that idea, but it's still a possibility that that's a thing. But then ending this conversation, Blast talking to Sitch is like, hey, this is our last chance. We have to go to the abandoned building where Sonic lives, because he knows that Empty Void is going to show up there. And this sparks the question of like, how does he know that? Like in chapter 195, 2 chapters ago, when he's explaining what's going on to Flashy Flash, he says that like Empty Void is coming back and that he's gathered the top ranking ninjas from the village and formed a secret organization called Tonito. So it's like, how does he know this? I mean, yeah, he's Blast, he has cosmic abilities, he works in mysterious ways. But now I think we know how he knows this, because when he says to Sitch here that Empty Void is going to show up at the warehouse, we see like this thing in his ear, in his right ear, and then there's like a little speech bubble coming from it denoting that it's this little earpiece speaking, and it says, "That man will be there as well." Now, this dialogue is from chapter 95 as well. It's when the Tonito show up to Sonic and they tell him the whole plan, you know, that we went over, where they're trying to lure out Flashy Flash and Blast to kill them. As they're leaving from Sonic, they say that man will be here tomorrow as well. So I guess that means that Blast has bugged Sonic, or he's bugged one of the Tonito, or he's bugged Hellfire and Gale, or one of the Tonito are working with Blast, they're like double agents, or Hellfire and Gale are double agents, or I missed how this all connects and I'm an idiot. I mean, that goes without saying, as you all know, but let me know in the comments if I missed something here, or are we supposed to be throwing these questions out at this point? Either way, like I said, interesting stuff, but in a more subtle way. So then we're leaving that sequence and we're coming to Saitama with Genos here, leaving their apartment. And then Saitama decides that he's going to go visit Sonic, you know, because of the whole big conversation that happened in his apartment with everyone. Surprisingly, Saitama was actually paying attention and cared enough to do this, even though when we see him in this chapter, he's just thinking about groceries and stuff, but still he was paying attention in his own way. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna go find Sonic. He sent me a bunch of letters of challenge, you know, from a couple months ago, I guess, because, you know, remember, One Punch Man's whole story from chapter 1 is only like 2 months at this point, maybe like 3 months. I forget how long it's been, but it hasn't really been that long. And he knows where Sonic lives because there's like a return address on the letter, which is hilarious. It's like, how does that even work? How do you have like a return address as an abandoned warehouse? Whatever, I guess it works in this world. But Saitama decides that he's going to go there because he's drawing parallels between the Paradisers, you know, Hammerhead, with Sonic. And he's like, I've seen this before. Guys with nothing better to do end up getting together just to cause trouble and draw attention to themselves. Now, this all comes full circle, of course, because Sonic ran into the Paradisers, murdered a whole bunch of them, if you don't remember. Like, viciously murdered them, one of the most violent sequences in the series. But Hammerhead wound up living. And I think Hammerhead's being brought up here because he's kind of still important to the story. I'm not going to spoil anything, but he is still alive, and he still has a connection to the organization because they are the one that gave him the suits. And when I say the organization, I mean like the organization, the cyborg robot guys, and they're still a big looming threat in the series. But anyway, he figures that he'll go there, beat up Sonic, and then beat up any ninjas that he's gonna team up with, and then he figures, maybe that'll set him straight and he'll stop bothering me. This is just a way to get Saitama involved in this arc, I suppose, because otherwise he has no real motivation to be involved in this. But then as he's leaving Genos, he says maybe he just doesn't want to be alone, which is true. I mean, if you really look at it, Sonic is lonely, and he found comfort in chasing the dragon of Saitama, and that's also why he's kind of happy that he reconnected with Flashy Flash here. And speaking of that, we see Flashy Flash make his way to where Sonic is waiting for him. It's not at the warehouse, it's just at some place in the woods, because, you know, as we talked about, obviously Sonic is not trying to go along with the plan of the Tonito. He's more so trying to have this reconnection with Flashy Flash, and then one way or another, them work together to take down the Tonito and Empty Void. And, you know, also test their skills against each other, see who is stronger amongst them, you know, since they left the village. And that's where the chapter ends, with them about to start their fight, which we've seen twice already. But hopefully this one will be closer to the webcomic continuity, where Sonic is the one who surprises Flashy Flash with how strong he becomes. Not only Flashy Flash, but also the audience as well. Hey, but real quick, guys, you should check out Gamer Subs in case you haven't already. They're a great energy supplement that can help you with gaming, studying or anything that really you want to do. They come in caffeine and caffeine free, and they also have nootropics in it like L-theanine, L-tyrosine, and choline L-bitartrate. So it's not just, you know, regular caffeine. It makes you really feel good and focused. If you're looking for a tub to buy, check out the new flavor Nuclear Bombsicle by Casio. It tastes just like a bombsicle. This is already one of my favorite flavors. They also have these awesome sus bars, which are only 100 calories and only has 1 gram of sugar and 8 grams of protein. My favorite flavor is the chocolate. I cannot get enough of these things. They also have gamer tea in both caffeinated and non-caffeinated. I personally really like the caffeine-free sleepy time with theanine. You can also get some of these awesome gamer soups, which I absolutely love. So guys, check the link in the description and make sure to use code BIGZ for 10% off. Thanks, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.